as well. We'll see you next time.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scottaboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on SportsGrid, it is Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you live from the Decisions Desk as we get set up for a great Thursday slate and an even better weekend in the sports world. You could say it kicks off tonight in the desert. The Cardinals and the Seahawks, a couple of 2-1 teams in the NFC West with a changing number throughout the week. Arizona opened as a favorite. They've been pushed to a home dog as high as +2 in the market. 1.5 anywhere you look. This is a clean plus price on Arizona at home. This total checking in as well, trending under just via the way the number is moving. 43.5 anywhere that we look. This is, of course, a very important game in this NFC West because you have a division. 2-1 gets you at the bottom right now. The Niners are 3-0. The rest of the division is 2-1. So clearly, your head-to-heads are going to make a difference. Your divisional record is going to make the difference here. Every single spot matters. And winning at home is going to be key, something Seattle failed to do in week number 1 against the Niners. Arizona was on the road, but they're now coming off of a loss to San Francisco. Gives you an idea of how important that start has been for San Fran. How do we attack this game tonight is the real question. Is it a side night? Is it a total night? Is it a props night? As someone who's played a number of Thursday night sides, I think through the first 3 weeks, I played a side on all 3 of the Thursdays. This is the first one that I've backed away from. Kind of falls in line with the market movement. Clearly a tricky game here, tight number. I think there's a prop angle, though, that's absolutely worth getting in the mix in. We will talk about that. We will talk about these quarterbacks tonight because they're noteworthy. Sam Darnold comes over from Minnesota. What is he going to look like without Kevin O'Connell? So far, so good. Efficiency-wise, Pro Football Focus grade. Shines a bright light so far on Sam Darnold, who's now thrown multiple touchdown passes in consecutive game. Kyler Murray, a number 1 overall pick that's had so many expectations and for a moment looked like he may live up to them. It's not been as much recently, but it's all about wins right now, I think, for Kyler. Got 2 through 2, lost last week by 1, has to figure it out in the next spot here, though, at home against these Seahawks. We will have touchdown scores for you in this game. The jackpot is back, so we will get involved in that way. We are, of course, though, still tracking the Major League Baseball slate as there is so much movement, so much to follow here. Guardians Tigers, I think, is the primary look, at least knowing that we are here with you 5 minutes away from first pitch. The Guardians, a -160 favorite with an eye on the sweep. The Guardians are going to host the Texas Rangers for their final 3. The Tigers go to Boston. So there is a legit gap there in strength of schedule. Factoring in Cleveland has a head-to-head, a win here would basically be a 3-game lead for the Guardians. Cannot overstate the importance of this one for the Tigers, who have dropped not only the first 2, but 8 consecutive heading into tonight's matchup. You see how the market has moved in the AL Central. We will follow that throughout. It is not the only battle, though, going on from a divisional perspective. Don't look now, Toronto, but the Yankees have caught you. 90-68 for each of these ball clubs. The Yankees with the comeback win against the White Sox in the first of the series, and then just a rout in the second game. Look for the sweep tonight before hosting Baltimore 4-3. Impossible to think you would not see the Yanks as a favorite in all of those final games. For Toronto, they've lost 2 straight to Boston. Supposed to get their lick back tonight. They are booked as favorites against the Red Sox. Then they will play Tampa at home. Again, Toronto would figure as faves in that spot. They do hold a tiebreak over the Yankees, so that is incredibly important. But right now, the Yankees gaining steam in the AL East odds. And on one side for the Yanks, some good odds movement. But on another side, their MVP candidate is trailing as much as he has all season long. Despite a multi-home run day for Aaron Judge, it was canceled out and then some for a multi-home run game by Cal Raleigh. Raleigh's home runs feeling a bit more significant because it got him to 60. That key, beautiful, sweet number. Can now Cal Raleigh match Aaron Judge? That would be 62. Can he surpass him with 63? 4 games remain for Cal. This is a tight MVP race, one we will talk about tonight. I think most would agree, though, if Cal Raleigh does hit 63 home runs, deserving or not, it looks like it will be Cal Raleigh's league MVP this year. Of course, the National League playoff picture, again, this is how great the baseball is right now. Still plenty doing. Now, we saw the Dodgers win the NL West today. They beat the D-backs 8-0. The Dodgers are in. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we are nearing 1, 2, 3 being locked in, okay? Maybe like on the Friday, end of the Friday games, you'll get Brewers, then the Phillies, and then the Dodgers, which pretty much locks in the Cubbies, right? Then when we're talking about them in the 4 spot, the Padres in at the 5 spot. That could flip. We'll see. It is about that all-important final spot right there, this 6 spot. The Reds had to rob a home run to avoid a tie game in the 9th inning against the Pirates. The Reds, I guess in appropriate fashion, avoid the sweep, which is how their season has, I guess, somewhat been held together. The Metsies, though, are actually booked as road favorites against the Cubs. It speaks a little bit about Shota Imanaga not living up to his billing. We're going to talk to Donnie Rightside in just a couple of minutes. We'll, of course, hit your NFL, your Thursday night preview. I'm very curious what Donnie does make, though, of this Cubs-Mets number tonight. And if Shoto Imanaga is a fade entering into the postseason, maybe it just speaks to Nolan McLean and how fantastic the youngster has been for the Mets. Is it gotta have it? It's important because the Mets' final 3 games, you would have thought preseason, oh, this is great. In Miami, yeah, the Miami Marlins have basically been like shut down for about 10 days, getting ready for these final 3 against the Mets to try and play spoiler. We will also talk college football, the return of GTDSU, our favorite college football bets heading into the weekend. We have Coach Terry Bowden stopping by for his picks for tonight, tomorrow, Florida State plays, and the weekend. We will also highlight Ole Miss, who made a very important decision at the quarterback position. Is it the right one? We will get into that. But after the break, our guy, Donnie Rightside, joins the show here on SportsGrid. What's he doing with the Thursday night game in the NFC West? How do we approach the remainder of the Major League Baseball board? And is there any value in this futures market? We find out with Donnie and you after the break on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had
Notre
marquee
Dame.
wins at some point
I don't
last
care. They
year.
lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Like, because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And like, some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scottaboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a Thursday night on SportsGrid. Game Time Decisions is with you, and we're now joined by Donnie Rightside, host of The Early Line right here on SportsGrid each weekday morning, as well as College Football Today with Joe Lisi this Saturday on SportsGrid. Donnie, we're going to get, though, into Arizona, Seattle here. A really important one in the NFC West. A lot of people thought this would be a tight division to start. Absolutely looks that way through 3 weeks of football. 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. Niners sit at the top at 3-0. This is a really important game here with the line shifting towards the Seahawks.
No, it certainly is. And everybody, you can't find anybody that likes the Arizona Cardinals tight in this game, which is always one of those buyer bewares because you go from the 2.5-point favorite to the 1.5-point underdog that nobody loves. You go, wait a second. Everybody loves the Seahawks, but it's only a 1.5-point line. We'll figure that out tonight. You know me, Kevin. Home team or no team on Thursday nights. But I do think it's going to be a competitive game that does stay to the under. But bringing up your point, that is an ultra-competitive NFC West. I'm telling you right now, the leader in the clubhouse odds-wise and also record-wise is the 49ers, and I want no part of them for this season or the rest of the season. I take a look at the other three teams with legitimate chances with big prices that will be on the move tonight, depending which one of these teams wins. But I'm really impressed with Seattle. They dropped that opening game to the San Francisco Giants at home. Close game there. Looked really good in their past two games. I'm interested to see what they have tonight, Kevin, on the road against the Cards.
Well, Donnie, just tell me this, though, right? Because maybe I haven't done a good enough job with my ear to the ground on the Seahawks-Cardinals thing. Obviously, I see how the line has shifted to Seattle. But from what you're hearing, why does everyone love Seattle in this spot? Because I don't – like, both of these teams played the 49ers, and both of them lost in really close football games. I could care less what the Seahawks did against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are bad. Also, you return a punt – and then the next punt you block and it sets you up at the 11. I'm not saying, look, they obviously blew that team out, but what are you hearing from people where it's Seattle in an obvious spot?
It's public perception, too. Like Seattle lost opening day. Ooh, close game. Wow, they went on the road to beat Pittsburgh. Wow, they really beat New Orleans. And they go, well, wait a second. These two teams have a common opponent. Well, how did Arizona do against, New Orleans? Oh, look, didn't look so good. Whoa, Seattle blew them out last week. And also, James Conner going down ends their season, apparently to a lot of people that are looking at this game. They won't have any way to move the football. That's what you're saying. And also understand this, though. You know me, Kevin. I'm not big on statistics that go back 5, 6, 7 years. I don't care about that. But the one thing that we do know is Kyler Murray isn't great against the Seattle Seahawks and hasn't beaten them since 2020. So something does file into that just a bit. But I think the better team, to be honest, is the Seattle Seahawks. But the fact that they're on the road, travel 1,000 miles, it's a Thursday night football game, nobody gave Arizona a chance, I probably would say, you know what, the contrarian in me likes the Arizona Cardinals, but it's a stay away sidewise for me, Kevin.
So then you're more focused more so on a total, Donnie, that looks like it's been dropping throughout the week.
Yeah, I think the 43.5 makes a lot of sense. Two teams that really know each other, short work week here. And also, as you pointed out, Kevin, the stakes are high. You don't need bonus points by blowing a team out by 30 points on a Thursday night. You tell me right now, McDaniel and the boys go down and be like, yo, hey, we just need to win by 1 point. We got it? Of course they're going to take that here. I'm digging into some of these player props a little bit more than the sides and the totals. But if there was one way I'd go, side or total, under 43.5.
Interesting spot here with the 43.5. I almost feel, Donnie, that if I showed you the numbers for this game, but you didn't know who was home, you would think it's Seattle. It's the vibe on it, the number on it. Oh, how are these teams going to score? Like, it's off from perception for me. I'm into the props market more so tonight. We'll get to that. Are there props that work out for you? Have you found an edge somewhere on this props card?
Yeah, looking 4 different ways then on the props market, Kevin. I like the touchdown market, certainly looking at the Seattle Seahawks from a running back perspective. I think they score 1 rushing touchdown. There's 2 active running backs tonight. It's Kenneth Walker at a plus 130 price here at Hard Rock. And then you take a look at Zach Charbonnet. He's at a plus 200 price at MGM. Get one of those, cash in. Get both of those, you have a good night. Similar to what we did last Thursday night, taking a look at that Miami Dolphins game. Like, hey, you know what? Let me take the wide receivers on a split, and they both got home. But also understand this. From a prop perspective from the Arizona side of things, I like Kyler Murray's rushing yards. Now, he's been rising all throughout the week. 26.5 that turned into 27.5 to 28.5 to 29.5 at this point. But I still think he gets 30 rushing yards because I believe he's going to have 6, 7, 8 attempts here. That should be good enough to get it done. But also, Trey Benson steps in, Kevin. Most people look at the rushing yards. Now, look at the rushing yards. He's going to get more active plays here on first, second, and third down. Look for him in the receiving markets, which his numbers are also rising here, Kevin, at the 20.5 have now turned into 21.5. I think he's going to get 4 to 5 catches tonight. And if he averages 5 yards per catch like he's done, he should be in that mid-20s range. I think there's some value there on him at running back, not to rush, Kevin, but to receive.
Trey Benson is someone that Arizona was hoping to use, I think, even with a healthy James Conner. So I think they're excited about the player. Injuries are always difficult, but it's a clear backfield, at least we anticipate. Donnie, it comes out that Zach Charbonnet is going to be active tonight. The Seahawks backfield, I mean, you get 3 weeks of weirdness. Week 1, both were kind of bad, but Walker was really, really bad compared to Charbonnet. Week 2, Ken Walker was fantastic against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then week number 3, Charbonnet doesn't play. Walker scores multiple touchdowns, wasn't efficient, didn't need to be. Is it a total stay away for you in the Seattle backfield here?
It is, outside of the touchdowns. Like, somebody has to get that carry. It's going to be one of those two guys. But also, like, we're buying, like, oh, Charbonnet's down last week and finally got to practice him. But it's still going to be Kenneth Walker. We don't know that, Kevin. Like, you're looking at some of these props here, anywhere between, 14 to 15 rushes of Kenneth Walker and still double-digit rushes for Charbonnet. Took some fun here at the FanDuel Sportsbook tonight, Kevin, and said, you know what? Let me take my odds boost and boost up Charbonnet. I actually took him at 50-plus yards tonight and used the 50% boost. And he said, Donnie, that's a stupid bet. He might only get 6 carries. Yeah, he might, but I'm having a little bit of a fun tonight saying, you know what? If we get equal footing in that backfield, Kevin, and he gets double-digit carries, which means 10, he's going to get 50 yards. And I bumped him up to that and then hit the boost on it.
All right, a little bit of love for Zach Charbonnet in the props market then for DRS. His straight prop checks in at 41.5 right now. I think the books are a little uncertain. What is this going to be? You know, typically be like, what's the Charbonnet workload off a short week? Again, he didn't play, so he might be well rested. Maybe they kind of looked at New Orleans on film and said, you'll be fine, Zach. So I think it makes for a really interesting element in that backfield. We're coming up against a break. We've got Donnie sticking around here. The Major League Baseball world, again, listen, we know when it's football season, it's football season. Baseball has worked in a way. They are commanding attention each and every day. There are a ton of races from wild card to division to MVPs. We're going to get Donnie's thoughts on that after a break. We're with you right here on SportsGrid.
Credit to the Giants, who were so good in April and then since then just kind of fell apart. Now they're back in it again. I think the Mets will get in, but it is fascinating that they'll play the Marlins here the last 3 games of the season. And I know without a doubt that the Marlins are going to line up Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, and top guys to try and beat the Mets.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is the biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings, and they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left, Donnie, for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel like we got a lot of information now.
Yeah. Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. Like, that game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Detroit can't ask for better than that. It's 2-0 at the end of the top of the first. A couple of solo shots get the Tigers on the board. We're joined by Donnie Rightside. Did an excellent job this summer with pro baseball today. Has done a great job throughout this baseball season. And I know, Donnie, you're still as plugged into the baseball as really anything else going on here in September. Let me start with this Tigers-Guardians game. Look, the fascination with the division is, of course, important. But I think the almost under-discussed piece is the Tigers aren't only fighting to win the division. They're on the cut line to make the playoffs as a whole. What is your outlook on the Tigers specifically?
Yeah, I don't like the Tigers at all at this point. And again, being up 2-0, they had the 1-0 lead last night and collapsed in the bottom of that inning, got hammered again yesterday. It's just about a confidence factor where now you're showing up to the ballpark and some teams have that headwind, like, yeah, I can't wait to get there and we're going to win that game tonight. Detroit's almost saying, like, can we get 3 straight rainouts and maybe Major League Baseball just calls it a season and we make the playoffs and win the division? Like, that really how I feel about Detroit. Like, when you send Scoob out to the mound, it's like, whew, thank goodness we got to win, and then you lose it. Then the free fall continues. I'm interested to see how this game plays out because not even handicapping, Kevin, forget about the pitchers and the hitters. I just was automatically taking Cleveland again tonight because, as you point out, if you're like, who's stopping the fall for Detroit? When your stopper can't stop it, let me see how they do tonight. But I don't like their Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Good luck. I'm not betting the Tigers.
I got to tell you, I think it's incredible that the things are as tense as they are, and Scooball still went for the snap. Throw to first base, Donnie, between the legs. Yep. That was like a July or like up 14 type of move from Tariq Scooball. I almost like respected it, but it went so badly. I was like, brother, you got to give yourself a shake, as they say. Donnie, when we take a look at the Central race, it's been all the buzz, maybe overshadowing a bit of a Toronto. I don't know if it's a collapse because that's unfair, but they're now even here. Same wins, same losses as the Yankees. And, I mean, it's splitting hairs, but Yanks maybe a little bit easier finish to their season. What do you make of this?
Yeah, no, I agree with you here. It's not really a collapse. It's just that sometimes you just play better team, or you're playing not as good teams as the other team. Take a look at the Yankees today. They're favored at -310. They're going to hammer that baseball club tonight. And then look at the score and be like, ooh, Brian Bayo out here in the red-hot Red Sox, let's just say, get another victory over Toronto. If you're not playing good baseball late, and it's those teams, Kevin, like when you're down a game or two in those final week and a half, you're sort of playing the hunter, and you like that. But it's never fun to be the hunted when you're not playing great baseball and multiple teams are hunting you down and then tying you and trying to pass you. If you just said, Donnie, forget about the odds market right now, who's going to win the AL East? I got the Yankees. I do.
I will say, Donnie, I think the Yankees are starting to feel again like a threat in the American League. That's how it reads to me with the level of baseball that they're playing. Not the favorites, though. That's the Mariners. This division is theirs due to a collapse from the Astros. Now, the Mariners played a big part in that collapse. They went to Houston and took 3 straight off of them. Yeah. The biggest thing potentially for the Mariners, though, is this winning, along with Raleigh getting to 60, has really shifted the AL MVP market. I know you have been following this closely. Do you think the odds are getting this right with Raleigh as such a favorite?
I said this by midsummer, Kevin. I looked at the way Aaron Judge was batting and said, my goodness, let's just see what he does in the batting average. Now, granted, he still has a high batting average. We were flirting with 400. That's down now. Okay, Aaron Judge has had a very good season. But I always say this. Historical events give you the nod. If you're going to win the division, which is something the Mariners never do, oh, look, they're going to win the division here. But also, a catcher hitting 60-plus home runs. My number in the middle of the summer was, if he hits 60 home runs and has more home runs than Aaron Judge, he's the MVP. And my same thought process, Kevin, as crazy as it was in the National League with Kyle Schwarber, the night he hit 4 home runs, I was in the stands. He got a 5th attempt at it. And I said, if he hits 5 home runs tonight and leads the National League in home runs, just give him the MVP because nobody's ever done that before, even though you know how much I love Shohei Ohtani. So I give the nod to Cal Raleigh right now. Still 3 games left. Aaron Judge can hit 3 more home runs. But you're telling me if Cal Raleigh tonight pops another home run, we're looking at -500 by the time you wake up tomorrow morning.
What does Judge have to do to catch him? Yanks win the division. What does he have to do? 55?
Yanks win the division, and he has a multi-home run game again between Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Now I'm saying to well, Donnie, what about tonight? No. Sometimes it's what you've done last. He does it on a Saturday, that's going to put him right back in it. But I think Raleigh really needs, Kevin, 1 more home run just to get over 60, and I don't know if there's anything Judge can do.
It feels to me now that Raleigh's so close. If he gets the record, he's going to win it. If he doesn't, it feels up for grabs. DRS, appreciated as always. We start to put our eye towards that weekend slate we've been talking about. We'll let you know what it is next.
credit to the Giants, who were so good in April and then since then just kind of fell apart. Now they're back in it again. I don't. I think the Mets will get in. But it is fascinating that they'll play the Marlins here the last 3 games of the season. And I know without a doubt that the Marlins are going to line up Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, and their top guys to try and beat the Mets.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is the biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings, and they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
They had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left on it for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
we got
having a good
lot of
time.
information
Love
now.
it. Yeah. Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. Like, that game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Game time decisions. We're live on SportsGrid right here on a Thursday night. And what we have tonight is, I don't even know if it's an appetizer, really. It's like sneaking into like the chip bag or so before we all start to really get underway for what is going to be this weekend in the sports world. And we alluded to it on Tuesday, Wednesday. But I want to just start diving into this. And Ole Miss LSU cannot be overstated. LSU, our top 5 ranked team, is hanging on right now to a win that gets worse every single time Clemson takes the field. Ole Miss, I found to be under-discussed entering this season, has the chance to prove that to be true. But they made a very gutsy call, I think, heading into this game. Let's, though, talk to someone who knows a lot more about it than I do. That is Brad Logan. You can find him over on Twitter at BradLoganCOT. Does an excellent job covering this Ole Miss program, whether that be the football side of it, the basketball side of it. Brad, we appreciate you making some time before such an important game.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a big one. And, we talked before we went on tonight. It's a loaded slate in college football. This is a great day to get up and get the grill loaded and to watch college football all day long. But, yeah, it's a big one in Oxford for sure at 2:30 Central Time here in Mississippi.
So the decision that I'm alluding to is the one to stick with Trinidad Chambliss. Again, you'll know better than me, but from what I can gather, it seems like Austin Simmons is healthy. And Austin Simmons had the, moment against Georgia last year where Dart was out for the game for a series and had some Heisman hype coming into the year. Well, Trinidad Chambliss had to step in and through 2 games as the starter, over 400 yards a game, 5 total touchdowns. Ole Miss is sticking with the kid. Do you think that's the right move heading into this matchup with LSU?
Well, Kevin, I think there's some gamesmanship here. First of all, you love to have a backup like Trinidad Chambliss that can come in. Austin Simmons looked a little sketchy in the first couple of games. 2 picks against Georgia State, 2 picks against Kentucky. And then in comes Trinidad Chambliss when Austin Simmons goes out with an injury. Look, it was broken by Chris Lowe, and on 3 that Trinidad Chambliss would be the starter. But wait. Lane Kiffin goes on Pat McAfee's show and says, I haven't named a starter yet. Then we get the injury report that comes out yesterday. We'll get another one tomorrow. Austin Simmons is not on the injury report. So I think Trinidad Chambliss plays. But I truly believe that Austin Simmons is still the starting quarterback. And I think until he loses that position on the field, that's kind of where it is. Ole Miss is very fortunate. They have Trinidad Chambliss, a transfer out of Division II Ferris State, who won the national championship last year. This is not just like a walk-on that's getting some reps. This is a guy that's very seasoned. He's very veteran. Although Lane Kiffin did say whenever Ole Miss beat Arkansas a couple of weeks ago that Trinidad Chambliss came to him and kind of smiled and said, this is the most people I've ever played in front of times 100. So, obviously getting in the limelight, he's done quite well. He knows the offense really well, and I think he plays well off Charlie Weiss Jr., offensive coordinator, and Lane Kiffin. So it's been a nice marriage. But I think to answer your question, I think it will be Trinidad Chambliss. But I do think there's an opportunity. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we see Austin Simmons on Saturday as well.
Well, that is incredible and actually does sound like a handful for LSU. I think what has been – so I'll tell you this, Brad. I've been invested in the Ole Miss program coming into the season. I thought they were wildly undervalued in the national title market at around 50-1 coming into books because I think with the schedule and what Lane Kiffin at least can guarantee you on the offensive side of the football presented some value. This is their spot to show that. Usually a quarterback controversy is a bad thing. It means you're not sure who you trust. I actually think both of these guys are that good. And I actually think that if Lane Kiffin goes out there and says, not a series here, a series there, but if we show you both, they're both legitimately dangerous. If that is the approach, do you like that from him heading into this game?
Well, once again, I use the word gamesmanship because you're not going to see Lane Kiffin show his hand at all to Brian Kelly and LSU. And for that matter, for insert team here, Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, all these teams upcoming, knowing that you have a really good quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss and a good quarterback in Austin Simmons. I think Lane Kiffin's been ahead of the curve, whether it be the transfer portal, whether it be scheduling, whether it be offensive game plan. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that he's playing his hand and his cards very close to his vest. I think when you look, Ole Miss has been very fortunate because you look at the running game from last year, and you guys know Ole Miss was playing with a walk-on wide receiver at running back in the latter part of the year. That proved to be very pivotal whenever Ole Miss would fall late in the year against Florida, not having a serviceable running back. Secondly, the wide receiving core was pretty good, but Jordan Watkins goes to the NFL, and Trey Harris, although he was great, could not be healthy throughout the remainder of the year last year. So you look at the wide receiver room this year, and it's been a really nice job by Trey Wallace to transfer along with Deshaun Stribling. Those two guys have been really good. Deuce Alexander has been great running the football as well. And then Caden Lee. We've not seen the best Caden Lee that we saw last year simply because there's only so many balls to go around. Long way to answer the question. I really think by having such a core group like a stacked wide receiver room, along with Kawan Lacey, the running back, and Logan Diggs, the transfer out of LSU, and then, of course, the transfer from Notre Dame, having that running back duo being so good, I think that has really helped Ole Miss, and it has helped with the injured quarterback situation and having Chambliss come in.
Brad, when you evaluate the opponent in LSU, I do think they give us a very tough 4-game sample size to deal with. Again, they beat Clemson on the road, 17-10, tough battle. Nobody would take a thing away from them. But Clemson is not good. And I thought Clemson would be good. I think we all thought Clemson would be good. You know, ultimately, LSU beat Clemson at Clemson by less than Syracuse did. Even the result against Florida, you know, it doesn't hold up as much, right? But we know they're still talented. Garrett Nussmeier has pro prospects. Brian Kelly has been able to win at a high level relatively. I guess maybe it depends who you speak to. What do you make of this LSU team who enters ranked 4th but is a slight underdog in the game?
Yeah, you've got Garrett Nussmeier, who was really good last year against Ole Miss, specifically in the second half. You know, guys, Ole Miss led the entire game in regulation until LSU would score with no time on the clock, kick the extra point, and send it to OT. I thought Nussmeier was good. You know, he's had that torso injury. We'll see if that plays a factor. I don't think it will. To me, if you ask me the key to victory for LSU, it is their secondary with Mansour Delane, A.J. Halsey, and Tamarcus Cooley. Those are 3 names that Brian Kelly went and got out of the portal. There are 3 incredible defensive backs. And for me, if they force Ole Miss to be one-dimensional and only run the football and they're not able to throw the ball like they want to be able to with Chambliss or with Austin Simmons, I think that's the key to victory for LSU. They're really good on defense. Obviously, there's some question marks. You talk about Durham, the running back, and then we've talked about Nussmeier. We'll see what they do offensively. I do like Barry and Brown, the transfer wide receiver, along with Xavier Thomas, the transfer out of Mississippi State. So they've got some pieces on offense to be really good. But I think for LSU to win a lot of games this year, it's definitely on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to follow this one. We'll see how Nussmeier answers the moment here, where I think there's still a lot of questions around that offense through 4 games. Brad Logan does an excellent job covering this Rebel program here. We really appreciate it. Best of luck this weekend following this matchup.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate the opportunity.
Again, make sure you go over and follow him over on Twitter. That is @BradLoganCOT. Does an excellent job covering a program that I've been saying here on the show. This year's college football team is going to make noise. And a win here, it's a bye week, and it's Washington State. All of a sudden, you're 6-0 going to a matchup with Georgia. And who knows at that point. We'll keep our eye on all of this after a quick break on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had marquee wins at some point.
I don't care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, busy night here on SportsGrid. It's Game Time Decisions. We are, let's throw best bets on the board here for people. We're still going to get to touchdown scores, GTDSU, all that good stuff here. In part because one of the best bets tonight comes from the college board. For myself, I'm on Marvin Harrison Jr. over 45.5 receiving yards at -115. That number is on the way up. I agree with it. I would still bet it. I think this is a big spot here for Marvin Harrison Jr. in prime time to live up to the billing. A lot of focus on Marv. drop passes last week. Still had 44. I think he could double that number here against Seattle. Kofsky's going to back the Seahawks here on the money line. It is also Chris's birthday, so a very happy birthday to our guy Chris in the back. If you're undecided and you want to back him for the birthday, then he's going to be on the Seahawks. A long reception over for Marvin Harrison Jr. for Sam. And then it's Army plus the points against East Carolina for AJ. That one's live from Vegas out there, so that one probably matters just a little bit more due to the location. We'll stick with the college football, and we'll bring in one of the best. That is legendary head coach Terry Bowden. Coach, it is always great to talk college football with you, but even sweeter knowing the weekend that we have coming up with 4 games of ranked action, including 2 beauties late night, Oregon, Penn State, Georgia, Alabama.
Oh, yeah, those are great games, and we've got ones against people. These are going to affect the conference championships. They're going to affect who makes the playoffs. Right now, you're getting rid of some of these non-conference games. You're picking up conference games, and every game matters now. And it's great to see good on good, because we don't really know how good some teams are because they haven't played. Penn State, I still don't know how good they are. They haven't played anybody. And so now we're getting to see people play people.
You're not, by the way, you ain't kidding. I mean, the Penn State schedule is wild, and then they had a bye week. And maybe what's concerning for Penn State, their quarterback hasn't looked all that great, Coach, in those 3 games.
All right, let me tell you something. Now, they've known they've had this schedule since February.
Okay.
Now, what's the hit on Franklin? He can't win the big one. Mm-hmm. They knew exactly who they played the first 3 games. They played conservative. They played vanilla. They didn't show anything. They have been focused on one game the entire offseason because they could. They had 3 non-conference games they couldn't compete with. I know, I've been there. I've had lousy cupcake to start with, focused on the one I had. We're going to see a little better offense. We're going to see a little better Alar. I think Penn State's going to be they're going to be more like the team that I thought they would be before the season began because they've been very, very vanilla on offense so far.
I think it makes a lot of sense, Coach. I think it's fantastic insight then on how they're approaching this season, and especially, again, to your point there, right, but it kind of clicks for me in the brain as you say it. James Franklin's been around forever. He knows, I don't have to worry about overshooting, week 1 or 2 against FIU or Villanova. Then let's, Coach, talk about Georgia and Alabama here because Kirby Smart. So this is, Coach, I don't want to overstep, right? But I would imagine for Kirby Smart, who saw his secondary get beat over the top again and again and again by Tennessee, gets a bye week and is now going to play Ryan Williams in Alabama, who last year beat him over the top.
Over the top,
right? Yeah. So I imagine the thought process is keep it in front of you, right? Make them get down the field here. I'm leaning under in this game, Coach. What are you looking for in Georgia, Alabama?
Well, I'm focusing on the game. I know that, and I'm picking Georgia to win this game outright.
Okay.
It's a tight lead. I'm picking them to win out, mainly because they play great defense. I don't think the quarterback situation, Joe Milroe hurt him last year because he had speed when he ran. I think they've got a good quarterback that can run strong or run smart, but he's not elusive, and I don't think that's going to scare him. And I think you're right. They got beat deep enough to know that you don't get deep beat when you play good cover 2. You keep a safety over top of corners. It pretty much gives you 2 deep ball coverages out there. And I think they know that's the only way Alabama's got to hit those kind of plays to a Ryan Williams to beat them. But the biggest thing, again, I played, they call it between the hedges. When you play at Georgia, you play between the hedges are nothing more than sticker bushes. But you play the game between sticker bushes. They almost never lose there. They haven't lost. I don't know if it's how many games, but I don't expect them to get beat. And they've got great defense. They run the ball better than Alabama. And you're right. If Alabama were to win, they would have to hit deep balls, explosive plays.
Now, Coach, I'll stay in the SEC, Ole Miss, LSU. We just talked to Brad Logan about this Ole Miss program where we're getting mixed reports. Is it going to be Trinidad Chambliss? Is it going to be Austin Simmons? We know it's going to be Garrett Nussmeier on the other side. This LSU offense, something to prove maybe in this game against Ole Miss.
Yeah, unlike the game at Penn State, they haven't been as good as they need to be. They haven't been as good explosive. Now, Southeast Louisiana was one of those games you could tack on 56 points and kind of get in the groove. And I think the outcome of this game, their defense is going to play well. It's going to be the toughest defense. I'm picking LSU in this game because I think their defense is so strong. I think Trinidad Chambliss plays, to be honest with you. I think Lane Kiffin wants him to play. I think I saw his comment in the paper. At 100%, Simmons is our starter. And I put on X, well, at 99.9%, I bet you start the other guy because he's played better. He's played better, but that he is youth. He's a young guy as far as the SEC type caliber ball is concerned. So the way I look at this game, and I'm going against the grain, picking against the Ole Miss at home, but I think that the defense of LSU will be more than that quarterback. He'll make a mistake or two. Nussmeier will play in a big game because he's a veteran, and I like LSU to win this game outright.
I can't wait to watch it play out. Brian Kelly, listen, I think at LSU, he's got to be in the playoff this year. He's he's got one ranked win, Coach.
He's got to do
on the road in the SEC. He's got to stack them.
Yeah, it's like James Franklin. They didn't hire him and pay him that much money not to go to the conference championship and not to go to the playoffs. It's on the line for him too. And this one becomes a part of the building block that he's got to have because he's let these games get away from him. But I do think they've got a great defense this year. And the quarterback has not made terrible mistakes. He's playing pretty good football.
And call a spade a spade. Brian Kelly's gone. All of a sudden, Marcus Freeman is in the national championship game. That didn't really help either. Coach, we absolutely love getting the chance to talk ball with you. Legendary head coach there. That is Terry Bowden. We're back with more Game Time decisions next.
Thanks, Kevin.
Credit to the Giants, who were so good in April and then since then just kind of fell apart. Now they're back in it again. I think the Mets will get in, but it is fascinating that they'll play the Marlins here the last 3 games of the season. And I know without a doubt that the Marlins are going to line up Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, and top guys to try and beat the Mets.
Game Time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings. And they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left on for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel
I'm
we got
having a good
lot
time.
of information
Love
now.
it. Yeah. Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win it. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. Like, that game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Live right here on SportsGrid, it's Game Time decisions. Again, tonight, it is a Thursday nighter in the NFC West between the Cardinals and the Seahawks. You got Arizona catching 2. And I knew this was a prop spot for me looking at this game. I didn't have a super strong read. I find this number on Seattle is kind of run a little far here. I think the Cardinals become tempting at the new number. The total also feels a little bit light. I don't seem to agree with the way the market is moving in either of these spots here. I noticed the Cardinal team total right now is at 21.5. I wonder if maybe the 20.5s are going to be a little bit more tempting to people here. But we'll dive more into this football game. Let's dive into a little bit of football. You know what it is here on a Thursday night. It's our guy Marcelino Ortiz. Marcelino, always great to talk to you before some big-time soccer matchups.
How are you guys? Welcome to the Latin Nation Football Club headquarters. We are happy because this weekend there's so much high voltage. Thank you for having me. And this weekend we're going to talk about the MLS games that I'm very excited about. San Diego versus San Jose, my friend. This is the game that we should be looking at this weekend.
Yeah, well, let's get right into it here, Marcelino. I'm seeing San Diego as the favorite at home. What are you seeing in this MLS matchup?
I love this matchup. San Diego is the best team in the West. Now, some odd makers, if you look at it, the markets might favor San Jose because they are at home and they have a high-power offensive. But here, that's the opportunity. I don't think they have a chance against San Diego. San Diego is the top team for me, the candidate to win it all this season. LAFC is right there with now this new influx of power with Son, but San Diego is too strong. In the specifics, I think that both teams will score and they will be goals on both halves. So I believe that San Diego will take the win, but both teams to score and over on goals for sure.
Now, Marcelino, staying in the MLS here, Seattle and Vancouver, the Sounders, one of the most well-known clubs, I would say, in the MLS. But Vancouver has been on a heater. Aided, I know it was going on maybe a little before, but aided by the arrival of Thomas Muller.
Yeah, I think that Vancouver is the one to support in this. Again, this game, just like the other one, very high possibility of many goals. These two teams, they know how to go forward and they like to score. We saw Seattle disarming Miami in the league's final, and we know that Vancouver, they've been one of the most consistent teams. The first half of the season, it was all about Vancouver. Now they're being challenged by San Diego, but in this game, I think that Vancouver will take the edge, both teams to score, and Vancouver to score in both halves. I think that's a good proposition that will make you some money.
We've got the Champions League going on, Marcelino, and this is, the most prestigious tournament here. Did I see correctly, by the way, Ousmane Dembele wins the Ballon d'Or over the weekend?
I think that is the key to this game, my friend. Barcelona versus PSG. No, Dembele, a former player of Barcelona that for many didn't do enough when he was wearing the red and blue shirt. Now that he is with PSG, has become the best player in the world. They won the Champions League last season, but Barcelona is the most dangerous team for them this moment. Why? Because there's two people that are really spiteful in that team. One is Lamine Yamal, and the other is Rafinha. Both of them were snubbed out of the competition for Ballon d'Or, and I'm pretty sure that will be a factor to show at home why Barcelona is the favorite to win at all this Champions League. My prediction, Barcelona to win, but this is important. The draw might be the best opportunity to make some money. These are two high-power firehouses that might neutralize each other, and we might see a 2-2 or a 1-1 draw. So I think there's a money-making opportunity right there.
Can I ask you quickly, Marcelino, about on the Barcelona side of it, though? Marcus Rashford comes over. A lot of buzz, I would say, right, about his departure from Manchester United. Seemingly playing well early here for Barcelona. How do you think he could, if at all, impact this match?
I think that he will come out to try to make a statement. I think he's lucky to have such a powerful team, but now with the injury from Gavi, I think there's going to be a space for him to be more consistent in the lineup. Okay. These will motivate him, and I think that has everything in it to score. My scores for this game, for sure, Dembele, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, all of those candidates to score in this game.
It sounds a little bit like that Ballon d'Or list, Lamine Yamal. That trophy, I think many expect at some point to end up in his home. Marcelino Ortiz, we appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me, and I want to remind you all, let's watch Latin Nation Football Club every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, here on SportsGrid. you'll have the very best information on soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. We'll have it here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to hit a break. We'll be right back. Get you to Thursday Night Football next.
Credit to the Giants, who were so good in April and then since then just kind of fell apart. Now they're back in it again. I think the Mets will get in, but it is fascinating that they'll play the Marlins here the last 3 games of the season. And I know without a doubt that the Marlins are going to line up Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, and top guys to try and beat the Mets.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is the biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings. And they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left on it for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel like we got a good lot of information now.
Yeah. Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win it. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. That game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Game time decisions with you here on a Thursday night. Eyes on the baseball board. 4-1 Detroit. Tigers up on the Guardians, extending that lead. Phils 1-0 over the Marlins. They did score in the opening inning of that game. That would be a Yerfie. It's a Nerfie in Toronto. Boston, no movement in that game just yet. It is 1-0. Yankees, White Sox. Yanks did score in the first inning. The MVP tracker, that's a double for Aaron Judge. His batting average is .330. I have heard from people trying to make the Cal Raleigh case that batting .330, not only not impressive, might be bad. Might actually be bad to hit .330. I don't know. Let's bring in somebody who might know. One of the greats, Mike Blewett. You can catch him, of course, on our Sunday in-game live coverage of a great 1 o'clock slate, a great weekend overall. Mike, in your many years of watching sports, which includes baseball, batting .330, actually bad?
Old enough to remember when batting .330 was very good. So I'm going to go with still very good.
Okay. Good zag.
Some might say
Mike, I agree with you. A couple of dinosaurs here who think who, I don't know. When you're going head-to-head with someone, you're like, hey, my batting average is 90 points higher. Apparently irrelevant and a negative is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I like guys that hit .330 and hit 51-plus homers. I'm just that type of guy.
But can I interest you in 248 and 60 home runs? Can I interest you? Hey, can I interest you in I switch hit on one side of the plate, batting under 240? What does Judge hit when he hits from the other side of the plate? What about that? Have you asked yourself that?
Yeah, I mean, if he tried, I'm sure he'd do a little bit just as well as the guys that can't hit from the side of the plate that they pretend to hit on. So, yeah, I'm good with the 51 homers and 330 and excellent outfielding. So, I think that should notch another MVP for us.
Yeah, here's the thing. I know that this probably sounds like a couple of guys actually thinking that this race isn't close. I think it is a fun debate. I think Judge is obviously better. I think Cal Raleigh's case is he plays catcher, and most catchers aren't this good, so maybe that means he's more valuable. I think that's the debate that we're having. But some of the walls that people are trying to climb to make the not only is it Cal, but it's not close case, it comes off a little silly just from me to you. That's a little bit, again, Mike, I'm trying to get better. You said it would happen. I'm getting better about not caring about the awards. I'm getting better. But some of the cases I'm hearing, we just want consistency. I think that's fair.
Well, you're not going to get that, which is why you shouldn't
you're
care.
Right.
And I'll
you're
say
right.
this. If Cal Raleigh wins the MVP, congrats. I think he and the Mariners should celebrate. It'll be wrong, but I don't care.
Listen, there's a lot of things with MVPs that are wrong. Like Jaden Daniels having a better price than Jalen Hurts. Because that makes no sense, right? And we should all be able to acknowledge that. I mentioned that, and someone said to me, do I need to explain to you how betting markets work? And that was, No, actually, you don't. Though maybe, Mike, because I'm a little confused. Did somebody tell every gambler out there that tonight's game was in Seattle, would start to track with the movement? Everyone's betting under, like it's going to be 12 degrees in the Pacific Northwest and pushing the Seahawks to the favorite. What do you make of this NFC West battle?
Seattle's beaten them 7 times in a row. I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think Seattle's playing really well to start this season. Obviously, they both had close games against the Niners. But Seattle these last 2 weeks been really good. Obviously, the Saints are bottom of the league, but Seattle really put it on them. Sam Darnold playing well. The Seahawks have scored 31 points, over 31 points 2 weeks in a row, aided by special teams touchdowns and really good play from Sam Darnold, whom I know you love, and I just like to bring up that he's having a pretty fine season. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 96-plus yards in all 3 games. Now, I do think this will be a defensive battle. The Seahawks have not allowed any of their opponents to score even 19 points. Cards holding all 3 opponents to under 23 points, and the Panthers were the only one that got close with a bunch of garbage time touchdowns. So I expect a defensive battle. One thing I would say on these 2 teams is that they're both really, under these head coaches, excellent defensively, especially in the second half of games. I like to track those trends.
Yep.
The second half under is 21.5. I've already played that. Seattle has allowed 10, 3, and 7 points in the second half. Arizona, 3, 19, and 10 points in the second half. The 19 points aided by those garbage touchdowns of the Panthers. Last year, both teams averaged allowing under 10 points a game in the second half. So I think that's the way I'm going to play. It's my favorite bet is the second half under 21.5.
Mike, I'm curious just for anyone out there who's, obviously you and I have been doing this for a while, so I know that you'll bet second half stuff pregame. But for those out there, do you have a setup that you're rooting for in the first half? Is there something you'd like to see? Because again, no matter what happens in the first half, your number is your number. But what would you be angling for, if that makes sense? Or maybe nothing.
I don't really have to root for anything, but generally, I don't expect the games to be terribly low scoring all the way throughout. So if the game is like a 6-3 game at halftime, I get a little bit more concerned at the way the second half will go. I think that's a standard way that NFL games play out. A little bit of success in one half, adjustments are made, and maybe the second half's a little bit different. Vice versa, success defensively in the first half might lead to some more points in the second half. But neither of these offenses is particularly explosive, barring the first half last week from Seattle. another thing too, Kev, not only has Seattle beaten Arizona 7 times in a row, but they've won 7 of their last 9 road games. Second half money line they've hit in 6 of 8 road games. So they've been good on the road. I know Seattle has historically, especially under Pete Carroll, had a reputation of being a very strong home team. That hasn't been the case under Mike Macdonald, and that's why I think there's some people expecting success. As far as home dogs so far this year, 7-10 against the number, 5-12 straight up. So that home dog trend that a lot of people like to play, not particularly successful to start the year. Divisional home dogs, historically, though, you generally don't want to bet against those. This is a tight enough spread that I'm willing to do it.
So with Sam Darnold, it's very interesting, right? Because, I don't know, week number 1, right, it's a strip sack fumble that ends the game. I didn't think he was all that great. Been really good sense. The New Orleans game just got out of hand right away. I'm not trying to discredit him, but I think anybody can acknowledge that you return a punt for a touchdown and then you block the next punt, the game's over, and that game was over. That Pittsburgh one is, though, where he ends up with the best Pro Football Focus rating and all of that. Mike, as someone who had a close eye on that game, do you feel it is more about Darnold still thriving despite no longer having Kevin O'Connell as his coach? Or is this Steelers defense kind of terrible?
I think it's a little bit of both, actually. I don't think the Steelers played well defensively at all in those first 2 games. Better last week against the Patriots, obviously forcing a lot of turnovers and did get big stops. Now, the key play in that Steelers-Seahawks game was the botched kickoff by Caleb Johnson, where Seattle jumped on it in the end zone. By the way, still never got a real explanation. I understand the rule. Never got a real explanation as to how that player established possession at the end zone line. So that was curious to me. Where Darnold really excelled in that Steelers game, though, Kev, was he picked up huge third downs at the end of the game and punched in that final score. He was excellent in the second half.
All right, we're going to stick with Mike. We're going to get into some of the Sunday 1 o'clock window that he will be covering live on SportsGrid next.
Credit to the Giants, who were so good in April and then since then just kind of fell apart. Now they're back in it again. I think the Mets will get in, but it is fascinating that they'll play the Marlins here the last 3 games of the season. And I know without a doubt that the Marlins are going to line up Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, and their top guys to try and beat the Mets.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings. And they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left on it for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
we got
having a good
lot
time.
of information
Love
now.
it. Yeah. Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. Like, that game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
With you right here on Sports Grid, it's Game Time Decisions. Happy to have you with us on a Thursday night. Still so much to get through. We're joined by Mike Blewett here, who does an excellent job on Sundays, 1 o'clock, handling a lot of big football games. The game, Mike, that's being I get why, right? Because we've got Chiefs Ravens, we've got Parsons going back to Dallas. We got a 3-0 versus 3-0 in Tampa Bay against Philadelphia. I think that's the primary game for you guys at 1 o'clock on In-Game Live. Is this one that you've started to get a sense for? Philly, a 3.5-point favorite on the road?
So Tampa's obviously been a really fascinating watch this season. All 3 games down to the final minute. And it's rare that you're going to see a team escape like they did 3 weeks in a row. I think that we're seeing some guys that are coming back for Tampa now. We've got Tristan Wirfs, Chris Godwin likely to make the start this week. Philly obviously has lost a couple of guys to IR, but no key players, nobody that stands out and really has you concerned about their ability to play well this weekend. I think there's obviously, look, you're an Eagles fan. They've won 18 of 19, it might be 19 of 20 now. They are an extremely difficult team to beat. You can't go on the road, have 6 field goal attempts against them and expect to win. You need to put them away. Can Tampa do that like they haven't been able to do, frankly, in their first 3 games? I have my doubts. We're all waiting for this Philadelphia offensive explosion. I don't know that it's going to come this week. It's just been a little bit inconsistent. Saquon obviously has been bottled up for the first 3 games of the season, but I still like Philly here. The 3.5 concerns me. That hook is a little dangerous. I might want to split up a half here and back Philly in the second half as they've been really good in the second halves of these games. But 44.5 feels like right on the number. I think Philly will do enough to thwart the Tampa offense in this game that it's probably a little bit more of a low-scoring game, and I like Philly. The hook does concern me, though.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one where Mike Evans is injured, and people are like, how is Tampa ever going to recover these injuries? With respect to likely future Hall of Famer Mike Evans, the Bucs are healthier this weekend. Godwin and Tristan Wirfs are on their way back. Listen, due to the design of my home, I'm very aware of Tampa in and outs, okay? Tampa is healthier this week. And most of my man history of sports media, don't be stunned here. Tampa looks like the side to me. Tampa also just plays close games all the time. It's not even a slight to Philly. It's more about the Bucs. And I think it's really a fascinating one. The Chiefs-Ravens game is the biggest game. And here's what I'll say. And no one will agree with me, but I don't care. I'm right. This is a bigger game that both teams are 1-2 instead of if they were 3-0. Because if they were both 3-0, the loser's fine, the winner's the greatest team of all time, yada, 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 right? And then we'll see what happens in the playoffs, right? Now, whoever loses this game is 1-3. Well, I don't know if we'll see the loser in the playoffs. I know everybody's going to think we will, but at some point, we got to look up and go, well, what's going on here? And both of these teams, different sides of the football, Mike, are giving us a lot to ask, what's going on here?
True. The upside for the Ravens is that they've got a bunch of defensive question marks right now, clearly. The offensive numbers that they've put over 100 points through 3 games, and I think they're the first team in like 30 years to be one of the only teams in the Super Bowl era to score over 100 points through their first 3 games and have a losing record. Lamar's got 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's 1-2. It's really seemingly impossible. The one thing I could say is that the defensive issues that they had are against 2 of the most explosive offenses in the league.
Yeah.
And Kansas City is not that right now. I don't know if they'll be that at all this whole season, but they're certainly not that right now. They have to find a way to avoid these second half, fourth quarter swoons that they've had. But Kansas City, they always find a way to win games, obviously, but I can't keep rolling out that trope when they're going to face a Ravens offense that, regardless of their record, is on fire. They just are. They keep scoring upwards of 30 points or more a game.
Yeah.
And I expect that to continue to some extent. Kansas City is very much a defensive-minded team, and Spagnuolo is excellent in the second halves of games, but I have to roll with Baltimore here. I hate Kansas City as a home dog with Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
They're practically undefeated in these spots, but I haven't seen it from the Chiefs at all.
Yeah, it's actually interesting, Mike. So Mahomes as a dog, right? Very, very good. He's actually only been a home dog twice, and he's now 0-2. So certainly something to the idea, if the books are going to hang plus money pat in front of your face, they probably know what they're getting into. Like, I'll tell this, I'll likely be on Lamar's rushing prop in this game. I think that is a side that's really beaten me up. I think that is something that I feel a little bit safer with. Mike, you think you're going to get a big upset in that 1 o'clock window? Texans laying 7, Lions laying 10, Bills laying, I think $1 billion. I'm pretty sure the spread is now.
I think the Bills could lay 24 points, cover that
Ooh.
this weekend. I don't really see anything here. It seems crazy that the Texans would lay more than a touchdown as a winless team, but I'm telling you, and to the point where our producer the other day said, "Can we please stop talking about the Titans?" I have watched more Titans football in the last 2 years than anybody that you know, than anybody that's watching knows, unless they're a Titan. And it is a bad football team. Still, real bad. Heavily penalized, give up lots of sacks, make a million mistakes, can't do much on either side of the ball.
All right, we're going to get you all the best bets. Catch Mike Sunday at 1 o'clock on SportsGrid. Game Time Decisions is back next.
Credit to the Giants, who were so good in April and then since then just kind of fell apart. Now they're back in it again. I think the Mets will get in, but it is fascinating that they'll play the Marlins here the last 3 games of the season. And I know without a doubt that the Marlins are going to line up Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, and their top guys to try and beat the Mets.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest story in sports. It is the ability to predict outcomes in sports without calling it sports betting. But I guess Massachusetts doesn't like it very much, and they're saying basically you can't operate in our market without having a license like FanDuel and DraftKings. And they're coming at this company, Robinhood, who you may be familiar with. Robinhood right now says, hey, we should be able to operate just like these other companies.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left on it for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel like we got a lot of information now.
Good games, not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win it. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. Like, you can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. Like, that game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
All right, we're buttoning up here. Game Time Decisions on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you. In-game live is next with Gabriel Morency, Scott Wetzel. They have you covered throughout Thursday Night Football. Make sure you are plugged in with those guys. Just a reminder, OK Dubs, traveling the world. Not really. We're out this weekend. Adam Kaufman has you covered tomorrow on Game Time Decisions. Sunday, you will be with Joe Lisi and Tom Vecchio on Pro Football Today. I will see you all Monday, right back here after this incredible weekend of sports, which includes as good of a college football slate as we will see all year long. I will let you know the Kevin Walsh Show, a SportsGrid podcast, will have my full college football card, including all of the big game breakdowns, plus a couple of others outside of the main four ranked pieces of action. We'll give you insight into one of them, along with our team's favorite bets on the college football slate. For AJ, he's going to lay it in the ranked matchup against Illinois with USC, a 6.5 minus 120. There are almost only 6.5s out there. We have seen a 7 or 2 pop in the market. If you want to back the Illini, make sure you get the best of that number. North Texas makes the card for Sam Yarnell. Of course it does. That's a first half team total over 18.5. The alt team total king. That's what I'm hearing. That's Chris. He's going back to it. That's Ole Miss, and that's Bama, each for 24+ at a plus 114. My favorite bet this college football weekend is Oregon's team total under 24.5. Penn State, you heard Coach Bowden. All that matters is this game. First 3 weeks, cruise control, show nothing. Cruise control, show less. Cruise control, I'll see you in a couple. Bye week into this game against the Ducks. Dante Moore, nighttime, whiteout, Mo Bamba, Mo. It's going to be a good time, just not for that offense. We have seen one team in the last 4 years go to Penn State and score over 24. That would be 27 of 28 opponents under that number, and that includes each of the last 2 years' national champion has gone to Penn State and been under that number, under the 24.5. Touchdown Thursday, touchdown Thursday. Jackpots. Who gets into the end zone? I'll be honest. I am terrible at these. But these boys have been sharp. First touchdown, last touchdown. I don't know if any of them have given out a pick that's been a middle touchdown, which is just pretty remarkable. So here we go. I'll take Kyler 3-1. Little scoot on a Thursday. Birthday boy, Chris Marv. Who's feeling marvelous? I think we all are. That's a 2-1. Marvin Harrison Jr. to find the end zone. Greg Dortch? Whoa. Plus 550 on Greg's Dortch? Not mad at it. AJ's got Cooper Kupp. Honestly, did anybody forget Cooper Kupp was on the Seahawks? I didn't. I would never. I'm just saying, did you? You might have. Did I? Don't ask me that question. Let's get best bets on the board here. AJ's got Army. That game's off and running. It's commercial. I don't know the score, but we're rooting in Army. Plus 4. Maserati Marv. Feeling marvelous. Over the 20.5. Long reception for Sam Yarnell. I like what he's doing there. I really do. Birthday boy special. The balloon play of the day. Seahawks money line. That's minus 125. Sneaky. Do you think, Chris, lifelong Jet fan, sees Sam Darnold thriving? And he's like, I got to back the guy I always knew he would. A lot of former Jet QBs out there. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, that's a lot as far as I'm concerned. Zach Wilson's going to start for the Dolphins any day now. I'm on Marvin Harrison Jr. over 45.5 yards. I know it's up to, I think, 50 in some spots. Always get the best of the number. I think Marvin has a chance for 100 tonight. I've never seen... I understand how disappointing it is for what was supposed to be this, like, future Hall of Fame prospect, right? Future, Offensive Player of the Year prospect to come in and not meet the level. He's young into his career. Not every single wide receiver comes into the league and in their first day they're the best player in football, okay? But Marvin Harrison Jr. has had incredible games. He had a really good game in week number 1. I know last week he had drops. He still had 44 yards. He dropped like 70 yards of passes, including a touchdown. Do we think Kyler's going to just refuse to throw him the football? Do we think he's going to be benched in the game? I don't. So I'm getting a number. He nearly went over last week with all of those drops. It's a bounce-back spot. It's a step-up spot in division at home. Marvin Harrison Jr., let's make it happen. What a treat to have you with us here. Again, a happy birthday to our guy, Briskovsky. In-Game Live is next right here on SportsGrid.